All right, family. So welcome to our online lessons. Today we are going to answer the 2024 internal exams for paper 1 biology. And for online tuitions, you can just communicate to this line. Okay, 0975 92 61 42. Without wasting much of your time, let's go into the paper. Okay, so the question reads, which characteristic of the living things involves ingestion, absorption, and assimilation? So we're going to define what ingestion is, and we're going to define what assimilation is, and we're also going to determine what assimilation and absorption is. By definition, ingestion is the intake of food. So here, under ingestion, we just have intake, okay, of food substances, intake of food. Now, what is assimilation by definition? So, assimilation, by definition, this is the usage, okay? Usage and let's say usage and incorporation, okay? Incorporation of absorbed food in living cells, of absorbed foods in living cells, okay? Now, what do we understand by the term absorption? That is the uptake of soluble food into the bloodstreams. So absorption, okay, is the uptake, okay, of soluble foods, okay, into the bloodstreams, blood stream. Okay, so that is how we define the following terms. Now, the question says, which characteristic of living things involves the ingestion, absorption, and assimilation? So, what do we understand by these living characteristics of living things? So when we talk about characteristics of living things, oftentimes the first question, the way they will ask you, they can even ask you to say which one is not the characteristic of a living cell. So what we do every time, we write what we call the Mr. Graphic, the memory aid, Mr. Graphic. Under the Mr. Graphic, C represents cells, I represents irritability, F represents food or feeding, F represents excretion, E excretion, R represents respiration, G represents growth, R reproduction, and M is movement. So what do we understand by the term excretion? Excretion is defined to be the removal of toxic waste metabolic products from the bodies of living organisms. Whilst growth is defined to be the permanent increase in size, mass, number of cells, and the characteristics of living organisms. Or we can also say it is the permanent increase in size, mass, number of cells, and the complexity of living organisms. That is growth. Then when we talk about respiration, is the release of energy. Now, we know that nutrition is feeding now, meaning they are saying which of the characteristics involves the following: intake of food, it is nutrition; absorption of food, and we defined absorption that the uptake of the soluble food into the bloodstream, it involves the nutrition. Also assimilation, which is now the usage, whereby those foods which have been taken in will be what now be used into the bloodstream. Hence the best answer there was what we call nutrition. Number two, which cell organelle is involved in respiration? Which cell organelle is involved in respiration? So we want to look at this term first of all, chloroplast, just that I don't have enough space here, but you can write the functions. Chloroplast, it is the green pigment that is found in a plant. Hence, this is where photosynthesis occurs. So here, it is where photosynthesis, okay, you can finish it. Photosynthesis takes place in chloroplast. We also have what we call endoplasmic reticulum. This is where the transportation of substances occur. So transportation, okay, of substances, it occurs from the endoplasmic reticulum. Then also we have the mitochondrion. Okay, so the mitochondrion, this is where respiration takes place. Okay, this is where respiration takes place. Respiration, okay, takes place from here. Then we also have what we call the ribosomes. So these are round structures where synthesis of proteins takes place. So synthesis of proteins or protein synthesis. So they are saying which cell organelle involved respiration. So the best answer there was the mitochondrion. Number three, it says, which of the following is true regarding active transport? I want us to identify or to define what active transport is. Okay, so active transport, by definition, is the movement of particles against the concentration gradient, okay, using energy from RTP. So we are saying active transport is the movement, okay, is the movement of particles, okay, against the concentration gradient, okay, using energy at RTP. Now, according to the way we've defined this, here are the options which were given. An input of energy is not regarded, okay, is not required. An input of energy is not required for this to occur. They said which one is true. Now, is this true? No, because we said energy is used at RTP. Okay, it allows particles to pass easily between the lipids in the cell membrane. No. It occurs against the concentration gradient. Yes, it occurs against the concentration gradient. It occurs against the concentration gradient. Hence, the best answer there was C. We look at number 4. The question reads, the diagram demonstrate an enzyme specificity and the stages in which the enzyme-controlled chemical reaction may occur. Okay. Now, one thing that you need to understand about an enzyme, we know that an enzyme is protein in nature. Hence, apart from that, we know that when an enzyme react, okay, with a substrate, what we form is an enzyme substrate complex. Enzyme substrate, okay, complex. Enzyme substrate complex. Now, since we form an enzyme substrate complex, the site, okay, in which the substrate fit, it is what we call active site. Example, if we have something like this, okay, you've seen this gamma box here which I've painted blue. This is in this site, it is what we call an active site, okay, because this is where the substrate here will come and fit to make what we call an enzyme substrate complex. So let's see. They are saying, what is L? L is an enzyme. Then what will fit in this enzyme? Same as this is a lock and this is a key, okay? So what will fit in the lock? It will be what we call a substrate. So M is the substrate, and we only have one, which is a substrate here, M. And D, we said this is an enzyme, and N is the active site, active site. Then the two now here, these are what we call enzyme products. So hence these are what products. So the best answer there was A. We go to question 2. We go to question 5, which reads, which of the following is not the source of lipids? So they've even put the word not in boards. So avocado is the source of lipids, caterpillars is the source of lipids, even seeds, cheese is the source of lipids. However, the castor seeds are not the source of lipids. So the best answer there was B, castor seeds. The other question reads, which is now question 6. Okay, so question 6 reads, which of the following food nutrients promote peristalsis? So you need to identify, you need to be able to understand what peristalsis is, by definition, peristalsis is the movement of the food bolus, okay, into the esophagus. Now, as the food bolus is moving, we need to understand which one does not promote, which of these does not promote. Now, I want to introduce another term of roughage to you. It is what we call dietary fiber. Okay. So roughage, it is also called dietary fiber. So let's write that one. Dietary fiber. So anything that is rich in fibers, it is what will be able to promote peristalsis. Hence, the best answer was roughage. Okay, we go to the other question. The other question reads, okay, a diet rich in iron is ideal for which group of people? So this diet that is rich in iron, it is ideal for a pregnant woman. The other question reads, the diagram below shows part of a leaf. The diagram below shows part of the leaf. Now, under this part of a leaf, we've been given the following structures here. And they are saying, which part shows the epidermal cell? So this is the epidermal cell here. This region, region A. This is the epidermal cell. Now, let's look at this one, which says, which of the following is an example of an organism which carries out a saprophytic nutrition? Let's discuss what this saprophytic nutrition is. Now, according to the definition, saprophytic nutrition is the type of nutrition where organisms called the saprophyte feed on dead and decaying organisms or organic matter known as the saprophyte. Okay, so we're saying, by definition, we're saying saprophytic nutrition, saprophytic or saprophytic nutrition, we're saying is the type of nutrition where we'll say where organisms called so saprophytic nutrition is the type of nutrition, okay, where organisms feed on dead and decaying organic matters known as the substrate. Now, I want to give you an example of, let's assume to say we have a slice of bread here, okay? Let's assume to say we pour water on it, then let it be for, let's keep this for maybe perhaps 2 days. After 2 days, you will find the black structure here, okay? Now that black or brown structure, it is what is known as the mud, okay? Now that mud has a scientific name which we refer to now as the rhizopus, okay, which will now be growing like that. You know, you've seen the structure of the rhizopus, which will be growing what we call the spore formation. When these spores, due to wind, when they had been dispersed on these other parts, also they will grow here to form other structures, okay? So hence, the best example here of an organism which carries out saprophytic nutrition, it is the rhizopus, not the 3, okay? Which of the following shows a human tooth? So the following diagram shows a human tooth. Now this is a human tooth. Now we know that we have the canine, incisor, molar, and premolar. And they are asking specifically to say identify the tooth and its function. So this tooth which we have here, it is an incisor. Okay, it is an incisor. So the best answer there was B. Let's look at the question 11. Okay, so let's make sure to say we subscribe to the channel and also we like the video. for more videos, and let's make sure to say we ask questions where we're not too clear.